Hello reviewers, welcome to my channel Science Technology. In today's show, Computer Wednesday, we're going to talk about a dirty topic, electronic waste. So let's dive right into it. Well, first we have to understand waste is an inevitable part of human civilization. So why this exact situation is becoming exponentially much more worse is simply because of progress. Think of it this way. You take a car, you can use it for 10 years and you can be damn sure if you buy something else after like let's say 10 years you're not gonna go magically you're not gonna go let's say from 10 kilometer per liter to 500 kilometer per liter. That's not gonna happen. Your car is just gonna be a car. Again, it will have some minor hoo-has and some improvements, airbags and all that, but nothing whoa will happen. However, when we are talking about electronics, IT, mobile phones, smartphones, things of that nature, we have a law. Now that law is Moore's law. Now Moore's law is something that any nerd around you will always know, and most likely you have even heard of it. What does that mean? Now in simplified terms, every 2 years you can buy a equipment for the same price or less price that will be twice in computational performance. What does that mean? That simply means, think of it this way. For me, my first smartphone that I bought for 15,000 rupees, around that price range, was of X performance. Here's the 4 years later, I'm buying another phone. Here's the that I'm spending exact amount of money, 15,000 rupees. However, like if you apply inflation, it's actually less. It's around 12,000, but I'm getting much more powerful equipment, much more powerful processor, much higher resolution cameras. I'm getting everything oomped up while I'm paying less. Let that sink in. You are getting more for paying less over time. So that is the driving force behind this electronic waste. Now, because we are advancing at high speed, that speed itself is growing up. For example, even though technically they're supposed to be every 18-month kind of gap between doubling, it does not always translate exactly like that to market. So you could have a scenario like which happened to me, and it's really painful. I bought Samsung M30, quite good phone. It's good, but it had a lot of limitation. We were like little bit this, little bit that, but I bought it for OLED and I'm happy with that. Here's the deal. 6 months later, they upgraded the goddamn phone, everything. Like they had a fault with camera, they upgraded it. They had fault with battery, they made 6,000 milliamp hour. Basically, they amped it up to a point where it's like, dude, seriously? So that speed, how quickly like your current mobile phone goes push, that's really fast. So there is no point in buying anything right now that you can say it's high end. It's not gonna remain high end for very long. And like even companies are trolling us, like for example, let's say graphics card. So the first graphics card they will release will be like, let's say GTX 1070 and 1080. You're like, yeah, I bought 1080 latest and greatest, and then few months later they release GTX 1080 super, and you're like, I'm no longer at high end. So that reality is setting in with us, is where it's like, oh, nothing we buy will ever last long enough, where it's not going to be like outdated. Now need for tech is also growing. Now this is a critical aspect. It's not just like, oh, rich people problem, first world problem, and things of that nature. What's exactly happening is more and more people are getting connected to each other. That's turbocharging our trade is runs on a transaction of money and information. That requires IT infrastructure. Demand for it is no longer like, oh, it's a luxury. No, you have to have that. You cannot have a country that does not have an ATM. You cannot have a country where banks are manually transferring money from point A. You need a IT infrastructure. It's no longer optional, it's a must have. And then we come to farming. Less and less people are farming. So what does that mean? That means the few farmers who are left, they have to cover much larger area, much more precisely, so make sure that we're not going to starve to death. How do? That they utilize smart technologies. That means IT is no longer just like IT. It's like, dude, food on your table comes from IT. So you can understand the growth rate is growing. Demand for it is exponentially growing. Think of it this way, like the early days, like when India was getting electrocuted as in like we're getting electrification, people only the first thought people thought of is like, dude, get water pumps. That was very essential first. Get proper water pumps. Awesome, we got that. After that, it's like, let's have light also so we can utilize something in the night time. Awesome. It's like, a fan would be nice, and that's how we started, downward spiral, where every Tom, Dick and Harry needs electricity at this point in time. So that's how same thing is happening with IT industry. So our speed of growth is like literally making everything else outdated very quickly, and the demand for new things is going exponentially higher. Now then we come to the dark side. Now the dark side is modern products are not meant to last. Now if you see any older tool restoration videos, you will notice something very weird. They are built weirdly well. Like it's a 90-year-old milling machine. I'm not joking, 90 years old milling machine, and they just polish it, grind it, and repair some things, and it's like, ta-da! You try to find something equivalent of that, no matter how much money you're gonna pay, you're not gonna get something even close to it. Why? Because our modern products are not inherently, like, we can do that. If we want to build something that lasts, we can build it. For example, 10,000-year-old clock. So look that up. So if you want to do something, we could do that, but modern infrastructure is not promoting that kind of manufacturing. Companies want to make something that dies very quickly. The reason for that is companies run on stock market. Stock market values growth, not longevity, growth. Basically, you sold 500 pieces. I don't care whether your company runs is completely well with 500 pieces. You have to show that you sold 1,000 next year and then 2,000 year after that. So how does company maintain that? They can't. Flat out, you can't. The only way you can do that, because again, every product has a limited market. You cannot expect every product to be sold to every single individual. They make sure the people who bought it, after some point of time, they come back to buy it again. So companies have incentive to that. It's not that they are evil. It's just like they have a family to feed. Same way you want to feed your family, they also have to feed their family. Otherwise, their company will go bankrupt. Yeah, but sometimes they get a bit apply, bit evilly, where they're like, you know what would be nice? Let's make a 18-month warranty on our battery and make sure the battery dies after 18 months. Yeah, that's Apple. So enjoy Apple. So in those sort of scenario, companies are incentivized to that. Now we always like, oh, company bad. Here's the deal. The sole reason that is working is because of us, because we want shiny new things. Nobody is like, dude, I can save a bit of money and then I can buy a high quality product and then I'm gonna be satisfied for longer time. Nobody wants to do that. It's like, dude, I want the product now and I want it as cheaply as possible. These two things combined is company are incentivized, and then our behavior pattern has changed. Shiny new things, both of them combined is creating a dinosaur that we cannot handle. Basically, we are creating worst case scenario for ourselves. And then lack of thought on consumer end. This is solely on consumer end. We don't give any single thought of end of life. You will be quite surprised. From as early as IBM days, good old IBM days, they were thinking about how to recycle. The company have to think about these things for legal liability reasons and all that jazz. They were always thinking about it. It's just that consumers stopped caring. So outcome of that was e-waste. So planned obsolescence is a really, really serious curse. So is there a solution to that? Thankfully, yes, standards. Now, European Union came to our rescue, so to say. Now, any of you who are around 30 years old, they must have known the horrors that we had to go through for feature phone era, where every goddamn phone had multiple charger standards within the same company. For example, you can have Nokia 8250, different charging port. You can have Nokia N90, different charging port. You can have Sony Ericsson, different charging port. You can have Motorola, version 8 will have different version 3 will have different. You can have iPod, which will be different. You can have Samsung. There are at least 3 to 4 standards in Samsung. And then you can have LG, they had their own standard. Then you have PlayStation. So we had insane amount of garbage, like gigatons of garbage for few tons of mobile phone, because of the charger nightmare there was. Like, if you are familiar with like old Indian, not even Indians, like this was common in Europe also, where like you are traveling, railway station used to have charging docks where you like plug your phone and charge it up. Now here's because of the standards, they had like hundreds of ports, but you can only charge few mobiles and hope that they have the port that is needed for your mobile phone. So people used to have this actual habit of like carrying a phone and carrying a charger with it too. So European Union came in, it's like, bro, you are toxifying our goddamn planet, our goddamn country, and we have to take care of it. So here's you guys take care of your act, or we're gonna regulate you. So companies are like, first they started like, I will suppose this, Sony will suppose this. They're like, dude, if we all start to suppose, nobody's gonna do anything and we're all gonna get regulated to hell. So they all agreed upon one universal standard known as USB. That changed the goddamn world. Like, we don't think about it, but that's a big deal. Think of it this way. Right now, our mobile phone is such a god tier that we don't have to think about how the heck we're gonna charge it. You can have a mobile phone as early as 2015 and you can be charging it today. And the way, the amount of learning we got from this mess is taught us so much that we are slowly, but we have a probability that we can reach a point by 2025 where we have one cable to rule it all. USB-C, done, go home, don't even think about it. How do you connect your shiny new Blu-ray player or your game console to your TV? USB-C. How do you connect your laptop to your monitor? USB-C. How do you charge your system? USB-C. How your car stereo connects? USB-C. Everything USB-C. So we are slowly reaching that point. Standards are a way to reduce e-waste. And standards have another aspect of it. Standards allow longer product use. For example, I have an old computer, as in 2009 year old computer, but because it has standards, like again, ancient standards don't last forever, but they do increase the longevity. I wanted to use that old computer as a network storage, not a real one, but at least learning, experiencing, and having an extra hard drive in a network system. Here's the motherboard back in that day had only 100 Mbps system. That means 10 megabytes of transfer. That was slow. That was like half of what you can get USB 2.0. So that's not gonna cut it. I have to transfer like 800 gigabytes of file. So what do I do? Simple. I use a PCI Express network card, and tada, now I have 10 years. Because standardization is our friend. The more standardized the things get, the longer you can stretch their life out and less garbage you can produce. Unless you are Apple. Now, recycling. So here's the reason we recycle is not because it's profitable, it's simply because we have to handle the toxic elements that were being used. Now, in early days, as in CRTs, early TFTs and all that jazz, and even circuit boards, they had a lot of toxic material. Like, we did not give a damn what kind of toxins we were putting into this. Like, we have a serious hazardous material. Now, to give you a context of that, these metals, these refined materials are so poisonous. If you have a pool, let's say you're dumping all your electricity, and if they leach to groundwater, that whole area would be contaminated, as in people cannot drink the groundwater. If you grow crops there, those will be, if you are lucky, crops will not grow. If you're unlucky, the crops will grow, but they will have carcinogenic inbuilt into them because they will be corrupted because of the metal poisoning. So you can understand the toxin put there, it's horrifying. We have to handle that, and that's why I specified companies were from day one, because they were using this, they had like some plans were put in place to handle it, because again, the companies will be liable. So there are some valuable metals also, and this is the worst thing about internet. People like, look at this old induction motor, I recovered like this much copper, this much aluminum, this much steel and all that. Here's the, what they're not showing, the amount of time and effort the individual put and how much money that would have costed. So you're not seeing human labor cost, you are thinking, hey dude, people should recycle it, it's gonna give us money. But here's the deal, if you want to do that as a business, you will realize that for every $1,000 you're putting into it, you would be really lucky if you get 1,200 1,050 rupees, $50 on that would be really lucky. So reality is, the valuable materials are there, yes, on paper. In real life it's not there. Think of it this way, like how the heck somebody can sell you a gold mobile phone? Think of this, like how much that would cost. Like if that phone actually had actual gold, 24 karat gold, or enough of it, even 22 karat, or let's say even 10 karat, if it had actual 10 karat gold in its PCB, do you seriously think you could afford it? So reality is like, is there on paper, very little, very little. And improper handling is very hazardous. To manage that, European Union, Americas, they are like, okay, we're gonna regulate this stuff, we're gonna properly do this. They created a nightmare, because again, there was not enough profit margin on top of their first place, and they had to do it. So what these countries do indirectly, they had good intentions, but outcomes were really bad. It's like they started using container ship, dumping e-waste into China, India and Africa, and all these places where these electronics are, they were like toxified beyond belief. Like crops from those areas, hope you never have to eat that. People living in that area, hope you never have to see them, because like, whoa, like on a different level of chaos we created without even thinking about it. Now you might be like, why the heck people in these underdeveloped places are looking into it? Here's the, if you ask a person, what would you rather do, what would be your preferred method of death, starving to death in, let's say, 3-4 weeks, or poisoning yourself to death over 10 years of time, everybody is gonna choose 10 years. That's why they did it. So that hazardous situation gone out of control. It's like, whoa, it's like really, really bad. And because it's not that profitable, people are really not, there is no incentive. Like government can keep creating rules, and all they will do is create blank spot. A worst case scenario is like, people might simply say, hey, whatever recycling, whatever, like at least we are condensing into one place. If every country started to make a rule, you may have a scenario where it's like, people are just dumping it in the sea, and that will contaminate the whole goddamn planet. So recycling has to be done very thoroughly. The toxic elements have to be handled. Now thankfully companies are realizing that it's much cheaper to just remove the material, toxifying materials on the batteries, screens. That's why you'll say most of modern products, no mercury, no zinc or things of that, and no lead. So that's the reality of it. Recycling is not that glorious. So what can you do? Okay, this is a problem. Every Tom, Dick and Harry has got to deal with it. So what can you do? Reality is, you can pre-cycle it. Most of your equipment has some life left into it. Utilize it. Try to utilize it as much as you can. And the more you utilize, the more you will learn things, which is awesome. And then less dependent on you would be on the shiny new things. For example, Stream Deck. I wanted one. Here's the deal. I used my old Android phone as a Stream Deck. I'm good. I'm sold and I'm getting everything I wanted. So Recycle it. I wanted to buy a NAS. Here's the deal. I had an old computer. Ta-da, NAS, done. So try to recycle as much as you can. Then don't chase the goddamn new shiny thing, because you have to understand that, like, if you taking a smartphone from very early, as in like 2005 to 2010, the jump was mind-boggling. We went from, like, 256 megabyte of RAM, whoa, to 12 gigabyte of RAM, whoa. Here's the deal, we are still at 12. So, and it would be very unlucky for you to have a mobile phone right now that has like less than 2 gigabyte. So reality is, we reached a point of what we call diminishing return. So you can spend more money, but you're not getting it wow experience anymore. So you don't have to chase new things. You don't have to be like, there are people who willingly change their mobile phone every year. Dude, there is nothing that is new every year. Like, you have to wait 2-3 years, and then there might be a big change. For example, like the biggest change that happened in mobile phone is in screen technology. They went from LCD to OLED. That's the biggest jump that you could notice. Like, you're like, whoa. You can notice, like 3G to 4G. Here's the deal. Are you getting even certified speed of 4G? 4G is supposed to be 100 Mbps. I can bet money on it that you're not getting 100 Mbps. Here's the deal. Even 50 Mbps. I can dare that you are not getting 50 Mbps most of the time. Like, you may be lucky, like, hey, mobile tower is right there, I'm here, and not enough load is there in that area. You may get more than that, but I can guarantee you 90% of you do not get 100 Mbps on 4G network. But we are still 5G. Dude, they can't support you in 4G. Do you really think they're gonna support you in 5G? So reality is, we have to be like, okay, shiny new things. Yeah, no. Your bank account will thank you. And here's the funny thing: the more money you have in your bank account, the more interest you accommodate, the more richer you get. So that's the simple thing. Another aspect: spend 5 minutes. Once you have your phone, once you have used it, extended it to your upper limit, and you're like, okay, calm down, let's think what we can do. Think 5 minutes. If you are living in moderately sized town, big cities, metropolitan, you don't even have to, like, you can literally have services that will come to your home, collect your old electronics, give you money in return, little bit, not too much, but at least worth your trouble, so to say, and you can have a little bit of money. Some places they have a mobile exchange offer. Awesome. Spend 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. Google it, like, local options for recycling. You will find the solution. Spend 5 minutes, save our planet. So this was my presentation on dirty secret of e-waste. I hope you liked it, learn from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment, and please leave a comment, because I try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.